Welcome to Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. In the entire world, the largest member of the deer family is the moose. The cow may reach 1,000 pounds, and the bull can weigh up to 1 ton. The bull has enormous antlers, which are shed each year about December, following the breeding season. Recently, we were invited by the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources and Colorado Division of Wildlife to observe a cooperative relocation project involving the Shiras moose. That project was proposed by Dick Denny, Chief of Big Game in Colorado.
The object is to establish a breeding population of moose in Colorado. One matter of importance was to assure ranchers that the moose probably would not cause damage or bring in disease. The next step was the immobilizing of the moose by the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources, and then, for perhaps the first time in game management history, these huge animals were to be airlifted by helicopter to the nearest road to begin a 350-mile journey by truck.
The new home for the relocated moose is here in north central Colorado near Rand, but we joined the project here in northeastern Utah's Uinta Mountains. In that area, where a healthy moose population exists, we began our participation in what we call Moose Airlift. This observation helicopter is only one of 3 helicopters being used in the moose relocation program. Below us, an elk herd moves on the north slope of the Uinta Mountains of Utah. This habitat supports both elk and moose in fairly large numbers. Off to one side, a couple of moose are being followed by biologists in another helicopter, so we'll move in for a closer look to see if they decide to immobilize one of them. We've just caught up to the helicopter in which Dick Denny is riding with other project members. But the actual darting will be done from the red helicopter. The smaller moose is the cow's last year's calf, and it won't be touched. Calves remain with their mothers for a year, and this one's old enough now to sustain itself, so they're concentrating on the large cow moose. The man with the immobilizing rifle is Utah biologist Bill Babcock. He has darted many of these animals before, and he'll take time for a true shot before firing. That means waiting until this moose moves into the open again. There's a clearing ahead of her now, and Bill gets ready. She's directly below them. The shot is perfect. They will remain aloft, but close to the darted moose until the immobilizing drug stops her. The moose has slowed, and they're hovering nearby. She's about to drop, so now all the helicopters can land, and the men can prepare her for the airlift. The snow below us is very powdery and whips into the air with the wind from our blades, momentarily obscuring the vision of the immobilizing team settling in off to one side. Everyone helps with the airlift preparations. The majority of the work will be done by the team, which is presently landing in the more powerful cargo helicopter. That's the one which will airlift the immobilized moose to the road. This operation is nothing new to the biologists. This will be the 6th moose relocation of Dick Denny's project.
Our team is well schooled on what needs to be done, and they'll swiftly get into action. Marlin will also be lending us his assistance with the ground activities. This cow seems in good shape, and biologist Dwight Bunnell and I will work together taking care of the preliminaries. The first thing we need to do for the lessening of apprehension on the part of the moose is to place a blindfold over her eyes. Both the tranquilizing effect of the drug and the blindfold help prevent fright when she is airlifted. As soon as the blindfold has been tied in place, the specially built sling can be placed around her. Before doing that, her vital signs will be closely checked by our veterinarian, Dennis Thorup. Only healthy moose are relocated. To place the sling around the moose for the airlift, it must be pushed underneath her. All the moose are checked closely for the diseases brucellosis and leptospirosis, and these tests have been negative. This has reassured ranchers who thought these fine animals might bring these diseases to the game or livestock of Colorado.
With the immobilized cow moose firmly in the sling now, it was time to airlift it beneath the helicopter to the nearest road, an operation Dick Denny and I will soon observe from the air. Care is taken that the sling which will carry the moose is placed in such a manner that it will not injure her in any way when she is lifted. Dwight Bunnell checks the blindfold a final time while we return to the observation helicopter to watch the airlift operation from a good vantage point above. Before leaving the ground, Dick and I wait to make sure no problems develop in hitching up the cable from the helicopter, already hovering above, to the sling in which the moose will ride. 3 cow moose and 2 bull moose have previously been airlifted and are already in Colorado or en route there. This cow moose is at first startled at being lifted off the ground, but that's a common reflex which quickly passes. The airlift has been very successful, and this is the 6th of 12 moose scheduled to be relocated as the capture phase of the project. They're taking a direct line to the road, and we'll follow the airlift and join the rest there. Helicopters provide the most practical method of moving so large an animal out of this back country. Although in some cases the airlift has been a considerable distance, this time it's only a few air miles to the road. Within a few short minutes, we've reached the place where the transport trucks are waiting. This will be where the next crucial phase of the operation will occur. We'll land right away to watch from the ground while the moose is moved into position. An operation of this sort helps game management men learn new techniques of animal relocation, and this particular operation certainly has underlined the value of moving large animals through the use of a helicopter. Despite its strange journey, the moose has remained calm under the effects of the immobilizing drug, and even when the men on the ground touch it, the moose does not become excited. As soon as the cable is released, the helicopter can move off a little distance until it's time to lift the moose into its crate on the truck. Dr. Thorup immediately checks the moose for stress. She's in good condition. The wildlife biologist records the physical data. Another biologist from the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources, Mike Welch, measures the moose's head and body, and as soon as he gets finished, Dick can begin the tagging operation.
Inserting ear tags is important because it allows us to identify individual moose. Past tagging studies have shown that about 90% of the moose return to the same range each winter. These studies are augmented by radio tracking individual animals wearing telemetry collars. For aerial observation, cow moose are fitted with red collars and bull moose with white. Studies have shown that the seasonal range of most moose is only 1 or 2 square miles, and their year-round territory is 6 square miles. It's very important to know this because it means that the relocated moose will in all probability remain in the area to which they are being transported. After the collar is fastened, the heaviest portion, including the transmitter, is turned to the bottom. The moose is now ready to be loaded for transportation by truck.
Immediately the signal is given, and once again the hovering cable-trailing helicopter moves in. It's a repeat of the earlier lift, and with even less reaction from the moose. This is a delicate maneuver which requires considerable skill on the part of the pilot since the crate on the truck is small, although it is large enough for the moose to be comfortable. For this moose, it will be an overnight trip of 350 miles to the release site in the North Park region of Colorado. With that maneuver completed, an antidote is injected to nullify the immobilizing drug. Usually, the moose is getting to its feet by the time the door is closed. That's our signal to leave. During this season, it's 10 hours by highway to the release site, but much less for us. So we won't wait for this truck carrying the cow moose. A bull moose was trucked away earlier, and we should arrive there in time to observe its release. Our flight to the release area for the moose was uneventful. A direct line from here, where the moose was loaded, to the release area 350 miles away, here in Colorado, where a large holding pen had been built. The purpose of the pen is to imprint the cow moose to the new area before releasing them. That release would take place soon after our arrival. Our timing on the flight from Utah to the North Park area of Colorado couldn't have been better. We passed the truck about a mile back, and it should arrive at the release area, a short walk from here, about the same time we do. Mule deer found here are presently moving to the lower elevations. At first, there was concern that the moose might compete with these herds of deer for the same food. That's erroneous. Winter is the only time when such conflict could arise, and at this time moose and mule deer inhabit different elevations, so food competition isn't a factor. Here in this willow bottom, a large compound has been erected in which the cow moose are held for 2 weeks to habituate them to the area. When released, the moose will probably remain in this general region. I'll observe while Dick assists the Utah-Colorado wildlife officials in the release of the bull moose. This release area is very rich in the same species of willow which were prevalent in Utah and which constitute 90% of moose diet. Enough grows here to sustain a population of 150 moose. The animals being relocated to this national forest land should forage well here. With past releases, they've sometimes tried to use ramps, but moose are very wary about descending, preferring to jump. To help prevent injury to the animal during such a release as this, the biologists have been very careful to park the truck so that the moose will emerge in a spot where there's a good cushion of snow covering the hard ground. The exit is by no means graceful, but as anticipated, the snow has cushioned the moose's fall and he's not hurt at all. One action almost all the moose perform immediately upon being released is eating snow. Even when roaming about freely and not having been confined, they often do this to quench their thirst. Above the eyes, the circle of new tissue shows where the antlers were recently shed. It only takes a moment or so for the moose to get its bearings and start off, and it's not wise to stand in its way. Not at all upset by its journey, this moose may soon be helping to produce a whole new population here in Colorado, where man once caused its eradication, and where man has now established laws which will protect it and allow it to become reestablished. It's a marvelous example of what conservation is all about. Now, with the bull on his way, we can turn our attention to the release of the 3 cows which were brought here 2 weeks ago and have been in the compound ever since, becoming imprinted to this area. Working with Dick Denny on this project has been graduate student Roy Nolan of the Colorado Cooperative Wildlife Research Unit, Colorado State University. He has brought snowshoes for our use in this final stage of moose releasing. While straying away is likely among some of the moose to be released here, most are expected to remain close by. An expansion of the moose population is anticipated over a period of years, and as the population grows, moose will spread over the territory. Through radio tracking of the moose in this initial release, the scientists will determine locations of those which adapt and remain in the area, as well as those which leave the desired range.
This net fencing allows a sort of open confinement so that the animals inside the compound feel relatively free and acclimate to the new habitat. When we release them today by lowering the fence netting, those which may wander too far away or conflict with existing land uses in new areas will be removed through a translocation program similar to that which we've already seen. With Marlin taking a position behind some willows, we can release the animals. Lowering the fence in this manner and pressing it down with our snowshoes so the moose won't get their feet entangled in it marks the beginning here of an intensive investigation to monitor the movements of this new moose population. If they do well, They may be the nucleus for restocking other Colorado habitats. Our continuing study will be carried on with the cooperation of the United States Forest Service, the Colorado Division of Wildlife, and Colorado State University. Now, with the fence lowering completed, we'll move away from the opening so the cow moose are free to leave the compound and perhaps join the bulls already released. The cow moose haven't yet noticed the gap which we made in the fencing. After a moment, however, one sees it and stops. With any luck, these two cows will follow this first cow moose to be released in Colorado.
Dick's dream becomes reality as the second follows that lead, and in a moment more, so does the third. Moose have now been reintroduced to the wilds of Colorado. The project of airlifting and then truck transporting moose from the wilds of Utah to north central Colorado is progressing smoothly at present. Close monitoring through radio telemetry of the moose relocated in Colorado indicates that all of them are still within about 6 miles of where they were originally released, and they are adapting well to their new range. The hope now is that the relocated moose will breed, and a new population will be the result from these animals reestablished in Colorado's North Park region. Nature is best when left alone, but we don't always do that. Now we're learning that sometimes, with man's help, the natural balance of an area can be restored, and we can leave behind us a better legacy to the wild kingdom.